Hey, this is Teresa Matsura, and you're listening to Uncanny Japan. Remember last episode when we talked about ohaguro, the practice of blackening your teeth, to 1. Make yourself more attractive, or 2. Maybe it's your coming-of-age day, or 3. Perhaps you want to show your faithfulness to your spouse because black is not only beautiful, but it's a color that shows loyalty, unable to be dyed by any other color. Or 4. Possibly coloring those choppers black shows your allegiance to your daimyo. Let him know that you'll serve under him and no other lord. Or 5. Perchance you have bad teeth, and you want that extra layer of protection that only fermented iron shavings and gallnuts can provide. Or finally 6. Too far gone, you have a mouthful of cavities that are killing you, and you need some decent pain relief. Well, there were all sorts of good reasons to dye your pearly whites not so pearly white. But today, we're going to test that black teeth were attractive theory, because we're going to talk about a couple Yōkai who sported this fancy once-upon-a-time trend, and see how they were received back in the day. Would you like to explore the stranger, more obscure corners of Japanese culture? Dig a little deeper into superstitions, curious customs, and all those mysterious creatures that inhabit the land? If so, then this is the podcast for you. Uncanny Japan is where I, author Teresa Matsura, share all the fascinating tidbits I unearth while doing research for my writing. From the bizarre to the ghastly, and everything in between. I hope you enjoy the show. Before I get to the first yokai, I want to introduce an article of clothing that I've been obsessed with ever since I first heard someone mention it. I had to ask, does that mean what I think it means? And it did. I kind of think I've talked about it here before, but for the life of me, I don't remember where. So I'm going to talk about it again. It's going to segue into our first yokai, so don't worry, I'm not going off on too much of a tangent. So in Japan, if you're having a traditional Shinto wedding ceremony, even today, the bride will wear a stunning, usually white kimono with a matching headpiece. There are a couple different shapes to this headpiece. One that goes all the way around the head, almost like a wide ribbon, and another that looks like a large billowy hood. Either way, they're called tsuno kakushi. Tsuno is the word for horns, and kakushi means to hide. Hiding horns. What? And how cool is that? And by cool, I mean horrible. The idea is that the bride should hide her horns of jealousy and selfishness and become a nice, polite, and obedient wife. When I first heard about the tsuno kakushi, I made up a story in my head about men marrying oni women, and it was much more exciting than just being a good wife. That tsuno kakushi comes into play with our first blackened tooth yokai. She's called Ohagruo Bettari. We know black teeth, ohaguro, and bettari is a great word that has the meaning of something being spread all over or stuck all over something. It could be something like, say you're dipping your sushi into soy sauce. Do you dab it lightly and get a little shoyu on your kappamaki, or do you dunk the whole thing in, swish it around, turn it upside down, so it gets soaked in soy sauce? That would be bettari, which is really rude, by the way, so don't do that. Dab lightly. Another bettari example is you've got a clingy friend who is hanging all over you, or a sibling or a child. That would be bettari too. Anyway, ohaguro bettari just means that her teeth are dyed black, completely, all over, which takes on more meaning when you realize this yokai has a huge mouth. one of those kuchisake onna mouths from ear to ear, with all black teeth. The most iconic image, I think, of Ohagruo Bettari was illustrated by Shunsensei Takehara in a work called Ehon Hyaku Monogatari. This came out in the late Edo era, 1841. The picture is of a woman in a beautiful flowered kimono, crouched down next to what looks like a torii gate. So she's at a shrine. Her hair is done up and she's wearing a tsuno kakushi around her head, so that's her wedding attire. She's looking back over her shoulder, and it looks like she's clapping her hands. But what gets your attention isn't so much her wide smile with all black teeth, but the fact that she doesn't have a nose or eyes. Takehara-sensei was kind enough to add an explanation that goes something like this. A man is passing an old shrine when he notices a woman on the ground prostrating herself in what looks like prayer. The man decides to go over and tease her, perhaps give her a fright. But when he does, she turns around to face him and starts laughing insanely. Gera, 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 gera. She has no eyes or nose, only one large black-toothed mouth. The man runs away and he tells everyone that he meets that that was the scariest thing that's ever happened to him. If that sounds familiar, it is. Have I ever told you about the Nopperabo, which is a non-faced Yōkai, whose sole purpose usually is just to go around frightening people? There's been a lot of speculation about this picture. For example, at the time it was made, blackening one's teeth was still performed mostly by upper-class women, like samurai wives or women who followed the Jodo Shinshu Buddhist sect. So why would she be wearing a wedding kimono? Some believe this Ohagruo Bettari was actually the ghost of a woman who died right before her wedding or on her wedding day. So she's there at the shrine to haunt it. But why did she die and how? And we'll probably never know, but it sounds like a sad story. There are also some folk tales from up northeast in the Tohoku region about people or mountain monks who tease foxes and tanukis, and then later have that same animal, or maybe a friend, I don't know, they kind of all look alike, show up at their door, open their mouths really wide and ask, "Do I have black teeth?" Which is unsettling, I suppose, but also kind of hilarious too. Another black-toothed yokai is called the Ao Onna, or Ao Onna, the Blue Lady. She dresses like an upper-class woman of the court. Toriyama Sekian depicted her wearing a Heian-era kimono, but in an old, run-down estate. She's probably not a higher-level court lady, but a somewhat lower-ranked one, or works there and dresses nicely. In this piece, she's sitting, gazing into a mirror with her mouth opened wide, showing off her dark-colored teeth, a teeth-painting brush in her left hand, and that's about it. Some speculation goes like this. Ao in Japanese means blue or green. It can also mean young or immature. So an owl samurai meant a sixth-ranked samurai. Ao Nyobo, because Nyobo means wife, meant she was the wife of a sixth-ranked samurai. So while dressed in Heian-era garb, not a very high-ranking lady. Sometimes the Ao Nyobo is portrayed as vengeful and haunting old imperial palaces and noble residences. But in other stories, she's more mischievous and just likes to play pranks on people. And finally, let me tell you about the last beastly black-toothed creature. But here, let me set the mood. Your name is Kasuke, and you live in Aomori Prefecture, Edo Jidai. Recently, your go-between introduced you to the most amazing woman. you're smitten. She's slightly out of your league, but it turns out there's something about you. Your charm, maybe, those roguish good looks. Whatever it is, you learn she's fond of you too. Now you have renewed purpose in life. Determined to show your worthiness to both her and her parents, you work real hard and save up enough money to not only marry her, but to buy a house for both of you to live in and raise a family. It's a house in the country. It's quite roomy, and you're proud of yourself for getting such an unbelievable deal. Okay, it's not a new house, or even a slightly used one. It's actually quite old, a little bit run down, a little bit creaky in places, and a little drafty in others. And no matter how many times you ask, everyone is suspiciously vague about its history and the past residents, who they were, what happened to them. And what's that strange stain on the tatami floor that just doesn't come out? But it doesn't matter. You're full of love hormones and completely optimistic about everything. Your life right now and your future with your new wife. You're newlyweds, right? After moving in, your first day in the house, you unpack a little, explore the many empty, somewhat off-smelling rooms. Then you greet your neighbors. The day grows long and the sun starts to set. So you return home and you light the Iori sunken hearth, while your beloved fills an iron pot with chopped daikon, gobo root, miso, and some fresh yama kujira. That's mountain whale, wild boar for those who don't know. It starts to get late and time to turn in. You're both exhausted. It's been a long day of travel and getting set up in the house. You climb into your futons, his and hers, situate your wooden pillows under your necks, and then turn to face each other. A single oil lamp flickers low in the corner of the room. You're thinking up until right now, this is the happiest moment of your life. You're thinking, this is absolute bliss. You're thinking, what? What was that? Your bride asks, clutching the futon to her neck. I don't know. You say, a little freaked out yourself. There it is again. Okay, this isn't right. It's coming from one of the other rooms, your wife says, from inside the house. I think you're right. Well, aren't you going to see what it is? You think to yourself how utterly dark it is out there in those long halls, many rooms. Remember, no electricity. It's a new moon, so you don't even have that going for you. There is a candle or a paper lantern, but... And that's the moment when you and your new bride learn you're not the strong, brave hero you both thought you were. You mumble something about a leg cramp, or you probably overexerted yourself unpacking and you're feeling a little dizzy. Best you just stay lying down for the moment. So for the rest of the night, the both of you lie there listening to the obnoxious, baffling, and relentless sound of something bounding through the house yelling, Uwan, Uwan. If you had been more of a courageous soul and gone out to investigate, you would have found a quite horrifying creature, somewhat human-looking. It'd be naked from the waist up, lumpy all over, bald-headed, pot-bellied, with little tufts of hair sprouting everywhere. It would have 2 large eyes, a widely grinning mouth showing its teeth all painted black, and its hands with 3 claws, raised in the air, waving around like, well, it just doesn't care. And it's shouting, "Uwan, Uwan," all night long. You and your not especially proud of you wife get no sleep at all. The next morning with daylight, the insane shouting stops, and you both hurry outside to visit your neighbors. Your neighbors see you, mussed up hair and bags under your eyes, and they listen as you complain about being unable to sleep because of some yokai creature yelling the entire night. They exchange glances and say, "Yeah, right, a yokai." They didn't have air quotes back then, but if they did. Just as they were being dismissive about your serious concerns, along comes an old man who overhears and says, "Actually, there is a strange creature living in that old house, and that's what he does. He cries Uwan the entire night through." Yes, you think, and you look over at your wife. You two aren't crazy after all. "So what's this mysterious beast called?" you ask, feeling your bravery return. "Why, it's called the Uwan." The end. No, really, that's the way the old folktale ended. But here, let me give you a little bit of a better ending, and it's kind of true, too. The old man could have explained to the couple that there is a way to defeat the Uwan, to scare it away. What's that, you ask? Well, it's simply to shout back at it, "Uwan." Then it will run away, and it will never return. So I'm assuming those newlyweds in the original folktale either lived a life of misery with the thing or moved out, which is a shame, because they could have gotten rid of it. But keep in mind, in case you do find yourself in some old inn or near some shrine or temple, and out jumps a creepy little dude, yelling "Uwan." Just shout it back at him. There aren't a lot of theories about where this yokai came from. Some think maybe it used to be someone belonging to an upper-class family of nobility or samurai rank who used to blacken their teeth. But it's a little non-human looking, so something happened to it along the way. Also, 3 fingers usually signifies an oni, so there's probably some ungodly mixing of the two. Finally, if you remember my original thesis, if you will, was it the black teeth that made these creatures so frightening? My opinion is that the black teeth didn't hurt, but it wasn't the main part of what made them scary. Looking at the 3 yokai, the Ohagruo Bettari, the Ao Onna, and the Uwan, yes, they all have blackened teeth, but it's not really the main scary point to them. It's more just to show their rank, or who they were in real life. Well, for the first 2 anyway. I'm not sure what's up with the Uwan. So I guess we can safely assume that teeth blackening, again, wasn't so really freaky back in the day. Thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. You've reached the end of the show, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate you listening and supporting us. Any subscribing, reviewing, and gushing to your friends, family, even random strangers really does help keep us going. If you have the means and you want to help a little more and get a little more, we are making extra content over on Patreon, all for only $5 a month. Or if you like to read horror, you might be interested in my Bram Stoker-nominated short story collection, The Carp-Faced Boy, and other tales. 本当にありがとうございます。Thank you again, and I'll talk to you real soon.